You can see it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for introduction. Thank you for coming. So my name is Igor. I'm a CEO of LikePay, and today I will tell you some of my experience, what I did before coming to Japan, before opening the company here, how I actually opened the company, what I'm doing right now, and maybe like I will give some tips which may help you to overcome those some common challenges, and especially those challenges which I actually faced when I opened my company here in Japan. So hope you will enjoy it, and yeah, let's get started. So my name is Igor Voroshilov. If you read katakana, you can read my how it's written in Japanese. So I am, oh sorry, I'm already 26. It's a little bit old slide. I should change it. I'm 26, and we are. My company is making like a lot of business in IT. So we are doing this no-code web development, mobile development, this kind of stuff. And first, I came here as a foreign student and opened the company. So I'm originally from Russia, and I used to study at Moscow State University since 2012. So I did global studies. So it's more kind of like international relations, this kind of well, yeah, specialization in international communications, this kind of stuff. And I also did the exchange program at the University of Tokyo, or at the University of like Sophia University here in Tokyo. So I actually speak Japanese quite well from my time from the university. And after graduation, I went for my graduate school to the University of Tokyo, where I did this sustainability science program. So I mostly learned about how to build better cities. And while I was studying here at the University of Tokyo, I actually opened my company. When I became like the second year student, I actually founded the company. So what my company does is mainly these three things. So we build web and mobile applications for other people, for other companies. Also, what we do, we teach how to build websites and web applications yourself without coding. We provide this knowledge in Japanese, so because there is a lot of information in English, but we create these original courses, original educational content in Japanese, and kind of bridge this informational gap between different countries. And we build our own products, like small tools which help people to build better, again, websites and applications. So everything is about building IT stuff here. So we are doing these three main things. Originally, my company did another business. So when I started the company, we did another product. It was actually called LikePay. That's where my company name comes from. But because of the coronavirus, we changed the direction of our business, and now we are doing this kind of completely online thing. So why I started my business in Japan? So, well, you could already have some clue, because I studied Japanese language at my university. So then I went to graduate school in Japan. But when I actually come up with making a business, of course I had options of kind of like making a business in my own country, in Russia. I could go to some other countries, so like I have all the options existing. But I decided that I want to do that here in Japan. Well, because there are several advantages. These are kind of like things which are kind of some problems in Japan which should be solved. And this is advantage for any entrepreneur, because that's basically how you do business. So the first thing is like monetization of knowledge. What I mean here is, let's say right now my business is largely built on kind of bridging the knowledge gap between, let's say, US and Europe and Japan. So these technologies which appear in those countries, they are kind of like quite advanced, but the information is all in English. And Japan is very, very kind of like strongly protected from foreign competitors by Japanese language. That's why what we do, it's quite easy to do business when you just take advantage of this kind of like bilinguality, and you get this information which already exists in English, and you kind of apply that to Japan, apply that to teach Japanese users, Japanese customers, how to use those kind of like products and tools which are very good, and which are built there on like in US or in Europe. So it's basically, it's very, very easy way of monetization of your just like skill, just basically language skill. Then when it comes to building some products, building actually some of your own service, there is a huge gap between this kind of like level of digitalization in Japan and in some other countries. So again, there is kind of like blue ocean for building any IT services. Like a lot of things are still kind of done in analog way, like not digitalized, and it's kind of like a lot of work to do here. That's why you can build the business on that. And of course, very high consumption volume. What I mean is, because kind of like, let's say, well, Japanese people, what I feel, Japanese people spend a lot on different goods, on different services, also on their own education, this kind of stuff. So that's why they have this kind of like willingness to buy things, to purchase, which you can also utilize here. And also like, well, that's because of the good quality of life as well. And also, what I felt, it's very easy to do business here in terms of, if you get well with Japanese market, if you understand your Japanese consumer, you can get maybe like twice or even higher kind of like prices rather than you could get like for the same service in your country, or like, well, in this kind of like English speaking space, right? Because as I say, Japan is like really, really well protected by Japanese language. So basically, people don't like using anything in English, and that's why it creates kind of like very low competitive space for IT companies. That's why they put higher prices, and you can actually benefit from that. So that's really, I think Japan is really good market in those terms. So if you bring those best practices which exist in, let's say, in US, in Europe, in other countries, in this kind of like, let's say, English speaking world, then you can actually benefit from that a lot here in Japan. And in Japan, why Tokyo? Well, obviously Tokyo is the biggest city in Japan. But firstly, I lived in Chiba, and I wanted actually to incorporate there, like near my campus, so near the place where I went for the university. And I actually had a really nice co-working space there. I thought like, wow, it's really cozy. I can have my company here. But then I actually learned about TOSBEC. I learned about all of these advantages which you can get if you incorporate in Tokyo. And then, yeah, I decided, yeah, definitely I want to be in Tokyo, not in any other city. And well, first I was looking for this startup visa thing. So startup visa is something which I didn't actually use it. Finally, I didn't have to. I went directly to this business manager visa, but I was thinking of that because it's kind of like the visa which allows you to stay for maybe a period of half a year or something, and kind of like to prepare your incorporation, prepare for making your company without any kind of like other purpose of stay. That's really cool because usually, well, in same as any other country, you kind of like have this special purpose of staying in the country, and you kind of like not really allowed to do anything beside that. So like I was on the student visa, and I was really thinking kind of like how can I make a company, and how can I kind of go with all of these visa issues. So for many entrepreneurs who I actually know, they used startup visa as well, and that really worked well for them. So that's really, really good point, I think. The second one is TOSBEC, of course. So when I first started thinking of how to build a company, well, I was kind of like, somehow I was really sure about my business idea, about like it should go very well, but it actually I had to change a lot of things. But I really didn't know anything about how to build a company, how to incorporate that, how to do all that legally. And that was such a huge gap in my knowledge, because, well, that was the first time for me to build company in any country, like, and even like I've never built a company in my home country as well, and in Japan as well. Like it's kind of like everything in Japanese, how I'm going to do that. So like I had a really, really huge gap in my understanding of this, like the way how I build a company. And when I went to TOSBEC, first question which I had is what's actually about the immigration. So like what I'm going to do with my visa. And I actually applied for 30 minutes consultation for this particular matter. So like for the immigration service. And after I talked with immigration guy, like for maybe an hour instead of 30 minutes, they said like, oh, you wanna like ask other booths, like you want to ask other people about like taxes, about incorporation, article about this kind of stuff. And I thought like, yeah, of course. I know nothing about that, so like it would be really nice. And instead of having like 30 minutes consultation, I actually stayed there up to 3 hours, I think. And I went through all of the booths, and I got so clear picture of what I should do to build the company to incorporate here in Japan. It was really amazing. So it basically filled the whole gap just in like, well, in 3 hours. It was really good. Well, that the time I spent there worth a lot. It would be much harder to search for all this information myself, and like this opportunity to ask direct questions was really helpful, because like I could get the answers for those particular questions which I was interested into. Also, what I did as well, I went to the Startup Hub Tokyo. So it's kind of like municipal co-working managed by Tokyo Metropolitan Government. And they also have this consultations for opening the business. So basically, if you have some business idea, you think how to, well, how I'm going to develop this business, how I'm going to start with, you can go there, and for free you can consult. You ask people who have been like building businesses for all of their life, and they will give like some advices. There are many of these consultants, so like if you don't get the proper answers from one, you can always go for others as well. Also, what comes like after you actually build the company, after you register all of that, you need to get some funds, right? Like you need to get funds to kind of fuel your business to get started. And of course, Tokyo is like the biggest place where all of these like venture capitals funds are located. And right now, actually, in Japan, there are so many venture capitals, and they have like so much money that if you have quite good idea, it should not be a really problem to get money. Except for that, they of course looking kind of like a little bit, sometimes be suspicious about foreigners. So they kind of like suspicious on the things like, are you going to actually kind of like win the competition here in Japan? Are you going to do it properly here in Japan? Aren't you going to kind of like live with my money? So there are these kind of issues, of course, in Japan, but I actually managed to get money from venture capital as well, so it's not impossible. It's quite possible. It's fun, like fine. I know many people who did that, so you can of course take advantage of that. And of course, like a lot of startup communities, well, they used to be more and better before the coronavirus. Like so many events, like every day at the same time. Like I had a headache, like thinking of which one I should attend. So yeah, that was really cool. With coronavirus, it a little bit went down, so everything got online. But let's say the place at the CIC Tokyo, this Cambridge Innovation Campus, they have this really huge co-working space here in Tokyo, and they have this offline events every Thursday. It's really cool. So you can go and meet people, talk to people, make new connections, and just basically use all of that for your business. So yeah, Tokyo is great, and yeah, it's also the major city in the heart of the Japanese economy. This is what I should have told before. And the TOSBEC. So I want to talk more about the TOSBEC. This is what I already said. Like I registered for 30 minutes consultation, but spent 3 hours there. So I went through immigration, then through how to make an incorporation article, what kind of taxes should I do, what kind of like welfare should I pay, what else would I had, like for welfare I had like free boost, I guess. Uh, yeah, and also like this like legal bureau where you actually apply, where you actually give the documents. So they told me everything about how I should do. I maybe went like 10 or 15 times. So what I was really impressed with is, uh, well, I just went there with some documents which I prepared. Like after the first consultation, like on the following consultations, I just went and I kind of like, wow, I don't know what to write here. I don't know what to write here. And they just like helped, like they, okay, let's write together. So like they really helped me to fill in all of the documents, like answer all of the questions, and I could actually apply. So I gave my documents there, just here. So I didn't have to go to any other place to actually submit my documents for company registration. So everything was done here. And also when I was changing my visa from the student visa to this business manager visa, I also went here. I got the consultation of all of those documents which I have to do, and I also could submit it here as well. So it was really helpful. I definitely recommend. The kind of like they actually provide service in English as well. They have interpreter, uh, interpreter, some say. Yeah. So you can get this kind of like English translation service. But of course, like I recommend you to speak Japanese. There are different reasons for that, which I will tell a little bit later. Yeah, and this is the next slide, which where I talk about this advantages of the TOSBEC. So actually, having all of those of like kind of like offices, legal offices, representatives in one place really saves time. But usually, let's say if you incorporate like in Tokyo, you choose one of this like 23 or even more, like well, usually 23 cities in Tokyo. Let's say this one was Minato City, and usually you have to go from one office to another. They're quite well, not that far away from each other, but still you kind of like need to ride a bicycle or need to take a train to go from one to another. And yeah, that's kind of like really difficult to find them as well. But here, like you can come and have all of this representatives here. You can ask any questions. It's totally free, and they can check your documents as well. So basically, uh, what I was really afraid of is because when you apply for company, you need to pay some tax. It's quite big. It's like 2000 USD. Um, and I was kind of like, okay, I don't want to, like I don't want to do it once again. So I don't want to pay that once again. So I really wanted to go like for the first time, like without any other trials. So yeah, of course I did it because they checked all of my documents. So they said like, okay, that's totally fine. You can go with this, and it will be fine like with this application. So I didn't have to kind of like reapply or something, do something like that. So they helped me to do everything right. I have something in the chat. Oh, okay, I have a question. I will take questions in the end. Yeah, so I could use this TOSBEC like unlimited number of times. So sometimes I came here like every week, or yeah, every week maybe in the beginning of the way. And the coolest thing is they give you a pen and a pad, so you can write everything down, and it looks really cool because it says like Tokyo is the business innovative center. It looks really cool. Yeah. So this is about disadvantages of which you can get in Tokyo. The next one is I want to share with you some problems which I actually faced. So the first thing is banks. Banks is a disaster actually in Japan, and so what I was so like frustrated with is then I actually had my company registered. Well, I was a student and I didn't have a lot of capital, right? Like I just did it like with really small. You can register a company in Japan with 1 yen of the capital. It's fine legally. I did like with 10,000 because I wanted to have like 10,000 of shares. So I did this like one share is 1 yen. And then what I faced is kind of like banks, they actually refused to open a deposit account for me. So even just not borrowing money, not having this loan, but just like having like just putting my money in the bank. Uh, all of the banks actually refused me. So I went for like 10 banks, 10, and all of them refused. Uh, what I learned after that, they kind of like looked at me as like small money laundering company, uh, which is not true, but like from them that looked like that because I was a foreigner. I had really small amount of capital in my company, and I also had this like virtual like office. So I registered my company in co-working space, and all of that made that look me like really uh, kind of like suspicious money laundering company for them. Uh, yeah, so I finally actually built could open account, but I had to be kind of like introduced to the person who actually does that, who actually makes a decision of opening the account. So that was kind of like workaround for me. But you can do it like without connections if you have like at least 1 million yen of capital. If you have a office which is not a co-working space, but you rent some kind of like some room somewhere as a real office, and it's also better to have this like representative director. So to have director who has a residence in Japan. So like if you have a residence in Japan, that would be much better. So basically, you need to have this. It's called residence card. So this card which all of the foreign residents have here. So if you have this kind of status here in Japan, then it will be much easier to open for you. Well, of course, I also had that, but yeah, it didn't help me back then because like I still had like really small capital and all that stuff. And then yeah, it was actually really funny because, well, not funny, it was kind of like really frustrating because I had an investor who was ready to invest in my company and I couldn't get his investments because I just couldn't open the bank account. So the investment should always go to the account of the company, and that was really kind of like fun. So like, I was struggling for 1.5 months, I guess, like to open the company and finally get this investment from my first angel investor. Yeah, that's kind of story. Then the second thing which I faced kind of like, well, I didn't face this as a challenge because I already had all of these things clear. but this is kind of like really tough, conditions, kind of like barriers for you to get this like business visa. And the business visa is actually required for director of the company. So if you are manager of the company, if you are the kind of like CEO, you need to have this like a business manager visa, business visa. And here, this kind of like barriers are, you need to at least like 5 million yen of capital. Before they had this rule that you need one full-time employee, but now it's not necessary. But you also need to rent a dedicated office with door and your company logo on that. So like, and you also need to provide the contract with real estate company where it shows kind of like you actually renting this space. Yeah, and also you need to set some salary for yourself. It's kind of like, well, at least 200,000 of Japanese yen, which is considered as the kind of like average level of income which you need to kind of like survive to live in Japan. Yeah, so basically this steps are quite especially like if you are a student, if you're trying to build a company as a student, it's quite challenging, because like having this like 5 million yen as a capital, it's quite hard. And also renting the office, like let's say you can spend like 1,000 like or 2,000 yen per month on the $2,000 US dollars on month on the office. So it's kind of like huge waste of money, because you don't actually need it like to do business, right? But you kind of like just need to have it to be kind of like eligible for your visa. So it's kind of like things which may kind of like be a little bit of challenge for people who want to open the company. Next, I wanna share you some tips. This like 3 tips which will really help you. So the first one is try to speak Japanese. Yeah, at least try, because what I noticed is when you register the company, everything is in Japanese, of course. You can go to TOSBEC, you can get translations. That's no problem, but it's always kind of like better if you speak Japanese for 2 reasons. The first one, of course, you can get like the actual information, not translated by someone, but the actual information in the with all these details which they explain. It's quite good. And the second one is this kind of like attitude of Japanese people. So when they see the foreigner who is struggling to speak Japanese, to do like the things right, like to go through all these procedures here in Japan, they kind of like really sympathize you. So they really want to help you, and they help you a lot. So they are not very kind of like cold to you. They're really open, and they really struggle to help you. Like in any office, like you come with like, oh my god, like I don't know what to do with this and this and this, and they kind of like, okay, let's see what do you have here, like what do you need to do, or let me check like somewhere, like they go, like they call somewhere, they check somewhere, like okay, like this is what you should do. So they get this information, really they want to help you. So that's why well, of course, it's better to actually speak Japanese and actually get this information from the first hands, but at least try to speak Japanese. At least like try to appeal that. That will help you to get along with Japanese people a lot. Then there is some life hack which I actually used as well. So when you don't have a lot of money, but you need to have a big capital for your company, what you actually can do, you can use this kind of like, you can invest your goods. So in my case, it was the prototype of our application, some of this kind of like source code of our app, this kind of stuff. And what is the best thing about that is usually when you kind of like invest goods, you need to kind of like evaluate them, right? So let's say we have this like source code of our application. It costs like how much? You need to have some evaluation, right? And usually it goes like you need to have some like third party who has to evaluate the cost, kind of like how much your goods really cost. But what is the best thing about that is if you are investing these goods, which the cost of which is like up to 5 million, you don't need to have any third party to evaluate that. So basically, you can have some website, you can have some like logos, you have some pictures, like something what you have for your business, some what you have prepared, and you can put the valuation up to 5 million, and you can invest it in your company, and then in your kind of the file of your company, it will be said like you have 5 million yen of capital, and then you can go with banks and all that stuff. It will really help. So definitely consider that doing when you create your company. And one more is to, of course, use TOSBEC and other services provided by Tokyo Metropolitan Government. There are actually a lot of them. So as I said, like this municipal co-working space. There is also a place in Akihabara when you can go for like accountant and lawyers and all that stuff. You can get like the free consultations. So it's really amazing because accounting or like taxes, this kind of stuff, it's really hard. And when your company is up to 5 years old, you can go and get this like free consultations on how to do things right with your accounting, with your taxes, with everything. I can also give you like really good example of how really Japanese people, they really want to help people. So when I needed to make this some kind of like report, I needed to submit a report on my accounting for this like tax bureau. So like I just came and I said like, guys, I have no idea how I should do it. Like, yeah, so like I have this kind of like I have a software for accounting. I have this data. I put in the data, but I have no idea how to submit this report to you. And they actually sat down with me, and they used like an hour and a half, and they helped me to fill all of the report, like all of the pages like together. They like calculated everything, like how much tax I should pay, all that stuff. So of course, like you can go with accountant for doing that, but if somehow your accountant is not available, or you don't want to kind of like do that, you can also go and directly get help from tax bureau, let's say. It's amazing actually. Like I didn't think that it would work, but yeah, it worked. It was really amazing. So definitely try to speak Japanese and utilize this kind of like things. Yeah, that's all. That's all. Yeah, and definitely. So I hope that my talk really encouraged you to come to Tokyo. When you come to Tokyo, when you open the company, please come to TOSBEC. Use it because like, yeah, it's what it's supposed to be for. So you're supposed to help you start a business. So yeah, definitely use this chance. And that's all for me. Yeah, I hope you have questions and we can start discussion. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my talk. Thanks. Should I
Thank you so much, Igor.
Should I keep my slides or should I close it?
Up to you. Feel free to leave them up there. We'll just go through a couple of the questions that have come through. We had a few that came through before the event started, which I think you've already touched on a lot of the information that they're requesting. But the first question we had was asking if you had any tips for finding an accountant. Now, I know you just explained that you had a huge amount of support from the tax office directly, but did you also employ a private accountant yourself as well?
Yes, I employed.
Recommendations?
Well, there are a lot of accounting firms. Like just going by on Google is quite good option as well. But how I found my accountant is on an event actually. So there was an event and I was making a presentation there, and there was one accountant who came. Like we just talked in this like networking session, and he agreed to help me. But then like he got some situation, so like he couldn't keep working with us. And then I kind of like, oh, like I need to submit my annual report, but like my accountant cannot do that for me. So what should I do? So like yeah, I did, like I just went for tax office, and I actually did all of that myself. Like I checked, everything seems to be all right. So I actually saved up a lot of money on that as well, and learned how to do all that stuff. I don't want to do it anymore, but it was nice experience.
That's very impressive as well, but it's also great to know that the tax office can be that helpful
Yeah,
to people
I
too.
was really impressed.
The second part of that question actually was if you had any tips for starting a website.
For starting a website, you mean like just to make a website for your company?
That's right, I think.
Oh, that's actually what I do. I make websites.
Yes.
So you can always contact me. Yeah. Well.
Yes. I think that's the best answer to that question.
Yeah. So it's not very about the making company, but in terms of actually having your company, in my understanding, having a website is like renting an office. So like if you don't have a website, you don't actually exist as a company, I think. So basically registering the company is the same as registering your website. And also it's very it's important as well, because when you make this article of incorporation, you need to kind of like you need to publish your annual reports actually by law in Japan, and you may use like special kind of like place where like special kind of like, not a journal, but like special special service like for publishing your annual report. So but it costs money, but you also can put it on your website. So you basically, in your article of incorporation, you just stated where are they going to be published, and you just put your website, and then that's fine. So basically having website is also kind of like helpful for you to have a company in Japan. Well, there are not kind of like huge requirements of what kind of website you should have. Of course, it should have privacy policy. Of course, it should have some information about your company. So basically, what's the address, who is the name of the director, what is your like capital, maybe this kind of stuff. This kind of information, because many Japanese customers, many Japanese clients, especially if you're talking about B2B, before making some deal with you, they will go and check your online, and they will go to the section kind of like about this company, and they will see what is your capital, where is your office located, who is your representative. If you put like, well, as much information you put is better, I guess. So I actually put like the photos of team. I put the photos of my investors who are investors in my company. All this information just to build trust, because like everything in Japan, like so many things are built on the trust. With some clients, we don't even have a contract. So basically, we just give the invoice, they pay it, and we do the work. So everything is really trust built. So yeah, it's really nice because it's such a, well, sometimes contracts they take so much time. So with some clients who really want to go with the really proper contracts, it can take like several months just like to discuss all of the terms, and then like send it to seal the contract, and then send it back and all this stuff. So it's really headache, but yeah, to build trust, to go without that, but you can use your website as well. In Japan, websites, they are not very fancy actually. So they are quite old. So having a very fancy website will also improve your image as well. Definitely. What I recommend, I will write you in chat. What I usually do, I'm #1 expert on this like Webflow, is the tool for making your website without coding. So making like really beautiful, professionally looked website. I'm a specialist in that, so I recommend that. So go check it out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Igor. So just a reminder to everyone just to check that out in the chat box there, Webflow, and maybe go have a look at the LikePay website as well if you'd like a good example of how to get yours set up. So the second question that we had come through ahead of time, I think you've already covered a lot, which was just discussing how you obtained the startup visa through the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. But I thought I might just quickly throw back to the TOSBEC team, as I think that they can maybe give us a little bit more information as well on the BDCT service.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as for the startup visa, if you're interested in using that service, then let me put up. I would recommend that there is a service called BDCT, Business Development Center Tokyo, which we call BDCT. And there is actually office within that TOSBEC, the on-site TOSBEC Akasaka office. There is a section that provides a service, the BDCT service. And if you contact here, Business Development Center Tokyo Akasaka, and they will give you a lot of information about this startup visa. So if you are interested or if you would like to apply for this, then please contact this. I'm gonna share the link in the chat, but you can contact here and then you can have consultations and also get the information. So yeah, thank you. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Right.
Okay, thank you very much. So moving back to the questions that we've had come through the chat box, we had another that was just addressing, Igor, the challenges that you mentioned finding the office space, needing to have the physical location as a part of your setup process. Do you have any advice for people who might be looking for their own business location or how to get that set up maybe?
Yeah, so about my experience, so like the co-working space where I first registered my office, they also had like the individual offices, so I just rented one of those. But then I was moving my company to another place, and I got a better deal actually. I actually just Googled like the office in Shibuya, and I got this like the first link here from Google Ads actually, and it was like some new place was opening and they had really good offers. So without this, like the key money and deposit, all that stuff. So it was really just like pay 1 month upfront and go in. So this is what I'm using right now. Also, it's sometimes good to use some agent for finding the office. Why? Because they usually have a lot of these communications going on with different landlords, and they can sometimes give kind of like get good deals from them. Those which they don't usually offer, right? Like if you just go and approach those landlords directly, but like with agents, they kind of like, well, let's do this kind of like discount, let's add this kind of like services, so they can negotiate that for you. And they really know the place, right? So they really know where to go. So that's why using the agent is quite a good option. I think I also I was considering that, but I considering that for my next move. I really, because like for the next office, I really want to get a really good place, and I believe that having an agent would really help me. But for this one, like where I am like I just needed to make it like a quick move, and I just was looking for. I was actually looking for the place which is not that expensive, but I need it like for visa. But eventually, I'm coming here every day, like I'm actually using it. This is my office. Yeah, eventually. Yeah. So going with some agent, there are English-speaking agents as well. Like if you contact me after that, I can connect you with some people if you want. So I think my email or something will be shared, right? yeah, so definitely contact me. I will be happy to help. Yeah, and also Google that in Japanese, but in Japanese.
That's it. Yeah, that's a trick. Thank you, Igor. That's great advice. Now, another question we had going back to what you mentioned about banking and the difficulties you had initially getting your account set up. You mentioned that you received an introduction to a bank, and that's how it was able to proceed. Was that introduction from TOSBEC? And if not, do you have any advice about how someone could get that introduction?
Yeah, again, it was like from the co-working space, where I was. So they really had this kind of like they tried to build this kind of like ecosystem. They tried to build this support for the startups, which kind of like residents at this co-working space. So they had this connection with one bank, and they introduced me, and that's how it went. And then at the same co-working space, we had the event, and I found my accountant, and accountant also had connections with Mizuho Bank, so he kind of like passed this through his connection. It also was very fun with Mizuho Bank, because like usually when I applied directly as a normal, they said I need to apply to the office, which is like to the branch which is like the closest to my actual address, to my legal address. But with this connection, I just got it like in. But I was registered in Toronto, but I got the account in Aoyama, so it doesn't actually matter.
The choice. There's always a bit of a challenge with the Japanese banking system. Now, the final question that we've had today is a little bit more of a general advice. Someone who established their own company while studying. Do you think that it's possible to open a startup company with no experience, but in a field that you studied at university? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I know some people, well, not only me, who started business from the university. So I actually, my business is not really connected with what I learned at the university. So I'm not really specialist in that, but I just like had the passion for doing that, right? So that's my like biggest motivation, biggest kind of like my resource kind of, which allowed me to which helped me to build this knowledge which needed. Yeah, definitely it's fine. You're going to go through all of this like errors and trials, gonna do a lot of mistakes, but that's fine. It should not scare you. It's just how it works. I also did a lot of mistakes. Okay, if I started my company once again with my knowledge now, of course I would do everything. Well, not everything. Of course, I would go to TOSBEC, but I would make many things differently. Yeah, so that should not scare you. What I would advise you is just like just do it. It's kind of like the best advice, but also try to get this like in Japanese it's called nakama, like people who like kind of friends, kind of like people who would support you, who would tell you a lot. Let's say like I had my angel investor who was interested in my idea. I just met him randomly on a party. So like we had this. I went to venture capital event, and at the networking party, we like he just popped up in front of me, and we just like talked. And he was well, he just like thought my business idea is quite interesting, so he wanted to invest. But then when we talked for the first time like properly, he said like, whoa, Igor, you know nothing about the business. Like, so you need to learn a lot first, like before I kind of like have enough courage to invest in you. So he kind of he told me a lot about how company works, about how this kind of like startup ecosystem works, about this kind of like funding, all that stuff. So basically just find people who are simplifying to you maybe, and get this information from there. If it's kind of like your style, like let's say sometimes people don't, well, you may don't like to talk to people that much, right? You may want to learn everything like from the web. You want to read, or you want to go from some course. So then there are plenty of different like online courses, online schools, like startup programs, all these accelerators. Yeah, just go and take your chances at those. That's also good. Yeah, and also the next problem would be, of course, kind of to come up with the product which is actually needed, right? So like right now my company is doing quite okay, but like before we did like we tried maybe 3 or 4 products. Like we did this, and then we did this and this. So we changed a lot. Before we could actually go to something what people are actually willing to pay for. So even if you have like a brilliant idea in your mind, that can be only in your mind. It can be so brilliant only for you. And to actually know that it actually can be a business, you need to just try it, just prove it. There are a lot of examples when really good business ideas, they work perfectly in other countries, but then they really fail in Japan or in the other way as well. So many of those things, they should be tested. And yeah, my best advice would be just act as many as you can. Just do it, and keep trying, and never give up. Because also when I went for this funding from venture capitals, like I maybe went to 100 venture capitals, and only one said yes to me, right? So that's kind of really low rate. Really low rate, like 1% of agreement with people, because it's more like it's kind of like agreement with someone, even like with the client, with all those stuff. It's not the rule. It's kind of like exclusion. Actually, you actually don't go along with people, right? And when you actually go along and you don't work together and you kind of like get investments or this kind of stuff, it's a miracle, I think. So you kind of like need to go and find those kind of people, like get a lot of like your fans, which become your clients and also your partners. So yeah, just do it.
Perfect. I think that's a great piece of advice to end the session on today. So thank you so much, Igor, for sharing your time, sharing your wisdom. You've given us some great advice and information today. So I'm sure everyone has really enjoyed that session. And just a reminder, if you are watching this afternoon and you'd like to go back, or if you'd like to send this to anyone else, we will be publishing a recording of the session today on the ANZCCJ event page as well. But just to finish off, I think we have a few more announcements from the TOSBEC team. So I'll hand back to you, Igor, to finish us up. Thank you again, everyone.
Okay.